As our sanctuary singers choir take their seats, I want to offer you all a welcome and to offer gratitude to Nicole Abassi, who is leading our choir today. Nicole's mother is our Director of Transformational Music Ministries, Sophia, and she is recuperating after a fall, and I know is very much in our hearts. And Nicole, we're so grateful that you can be here to worship with us today. And to lead our choir in the beautiful carol that asks us, "Hear the angels sing." Hear the angels sing. On Christmas Eve, we feel we might be able to hear anything. Hooves on the rooftop, jingle bells in the dark, the sound of our warm breath as we watch it condense in cold air. Could we, just for tonight, hear angels sing? Could we, just for tonight, imagine a world filled with peace? This Christmas Eve, you are invited to imagine with us. This Christmas Eve, you are invited to wonder. This Christmas Eve, you are invited. Friends, neighbors, beloved strangers yet to become friends, we are so glad you are here. Let us worship together.
Please join me in the words to light our chalice. We gather together as a community of memory and hope to celebrate life and its infinite possibilities for love. And together, we light this chalice as a symbol of the light within every human heart. May our individual sparks meet and merge, bringing both light and warmth to the world. We also light our Advent wreath this afternoon. The Advent season is an invitation to set your mind off of the year's stresses. As the weeks in December passed, we were able to shift our focus from the hustle and the bustle of the season, hopefully, move away from the sadness and the blues that some people carry this time of year. Advent let us focus our thoughts on the gifts that have been given to us. Tonight we light all 4 Advent candles for love, for hope, for joy, for peace. They symbolize the love and the light of God, and it's on Christmas Eve, or Christmas Day, that we celebrate the arrival of the babe. We light our Advent candles, all 4. Let's sing together. We're going to sing "O Come All Ye Faithful" as our first carol. Please rise and body your spirit.
Christmas is a time of wonder, a time of wondering. For those of us here in the Northern Hemisphere, it follows quickly after winter solstice, when already perhaps we are filled with wonder at the return of the light after the lengthening dark days. Perhaps you are wondering many things in this moment. You may be wondering what presents are under the tree for you. You may be wondering whether your neighbor will hear you as you pull out that little lozenge that you packed away so carefully. You may be wondering how dinner will work out tomorrow or even tonight, or what will be in the stocking for you when you wake up. We wonder through the Christmas season, each of us in our own way. And we Unitarian Universalists, we wonder too about the Christmas story itself, how the story began and how it was shared over centuries and centuries. Tonight, we wonder how the characters in the Christmas story might feel. You know the characters, I think. Perhaps you have a creche in your own home with the little characters set up the way I do. Joseph and Mary and baby Jesus. I heard a very complicated theological conversation about whether you put baby Jesus out when you set up the creche or if you wait until Christmas morning. And everyone knows that the 3 wise men don't come until the 12th day of Christmas, so right now they should be in about your dining room, making their way little by little. Perhaps your creche has little shepherds with their sheep, or maybe your creche has an angel. My mother's creche keeps collecting angels. She has 4 or 5 angels, all from different countries, all around the manger. Some of the characters aren't always in our creche scenes, the innkeeper, but we can wonder about them too. And so tonight, we think of that old Christmas story, guarded preciously as people told it one to the other and then wrote it down. Perhaps dozens of versions making their way to the story we know. We wonder how it felt for all the little people in our story.
All the little people in the story, the little people in this story. One of those little people is Joseph. And when Amanda asked me to talk about wonder and Joseph, it immediately took me back to the time when my son-in-law was preparing for my grandson to come into the world. I don't want to say he was unprepared. I would rather not say he was inept. He was trying so hard. He was trying so hard to get everything right. He was in that phase when you watch a young man cook and clean and do laundry and go to work and wait hand and foot on a very, very pregnant wife while his mother-in-law is in the house. So I wondered if me and Andre would make it through that phase of waiting for Andrew to get here. Andrew's now 8 years old, and we did. He was not inept. He was slightly unaware, but he was not anything but loving and doting and slightly afraid. I think about Joseph and I wonder, was he afraid? What was he thinking as he waited for the baby to be born? In the Christmas story that's been handed down, he doesn't speak until after the angel tells him the news of the child his wife will bear. This child that's going to bring peace to the entire world. But still, he accompanies Mary. He dotes on her. He cares for her. Perhaps he tries to prepare that little family that the baby is coming to. And perhaps he wants to get everything just right before the baby gets here. I wonder what Joseph was thinking at that time. And my heart goes out to him and to all the expectant fathers who have to spend a little too much time with their mother-in-laws. I want to offer you a reading about Wonder and Come Christmas. This was crafted by Maureen Killoran. No one is ever really ready for Christmas. If we were really all prepared, if every gift we had contemplated had been obtained, if every present was beautifully beribboned, if all the goodies our friends deserved were home-baked and cooled and stored just so, if each and every person we love was gathered for the celebrations, if we never snapped at someone we care about, nor stopped short of being all that we could be, if our minds were 100% loving and our hearts were 100% generous, then truly we'd be ready. And truly we would not need Christmas quite so much. But come Christmas, most needed of seasons, come with the reminder that love does not depend on perfection. It depends on willingness to risk connection. Come into the unready manger of our hearts that we may feel the warmth of new life and give flesh to the promise of hope that cries to bring healing to our world. Come Christmas, come love, come hope, be born in our unready hearts on this silent and holy night. Come Christmas.
remember the innkeeper, the one that you don't find in most nativity scenes? The innkeeper who may have been one of the most important characters of all. I wonder about the innkeeper. What a surprise it must have been to have Joseph and Mary arrive on a donkey, looking for space on one of the busiest days. Did the innkeeper consider just saying no? What made the innkeeper look for that little extra room? Our reading comes to us from Anne Dillon Schneider, a Unitarian Universalist layperson from South Dakota. Imagine the scene, she writes. Bethlehem is crowded with people coming home for the census to be counted. It's late at night when the innkeeper responds to a knock on the door. Could someone do a knock on the door for me? Oh, that was very good. And finds a young couple standing there. The woman is very pregnant. She and her spouse look exhausted. They have walked 100 miles over rough, rocky terrain to get here from Nazareth. The innkeeper is confronted with a dilemma, a problem. The inn is full. There just is not any more room. At the same time, the innkeeper knows that offering hospitality is part of being God's people because they have been sojourners and strangers in Egypt. As a child, the innkeeper had learned the story of Abraham and Sarah welcoming 3 strangers into their home. After Abraham and Sarah made the strangers a lavish feast, the couple discovered that their guests were messengers, angels sent to bring great news. So the innkeeper knows the tradition of entertaining strangers. Tonight, there is a bedraggled and weary couple on their very doorstep. What to do? We can imagine. The innkeeper pulls the door to a bit, hastily assessing the situation. Is there any space anywhere? The beds are all taken. There are even people sleeping on the floor. Is there any solution? In a moment of inspiration, the innkeeper remembers the stable out behind the inn. It's not much, but it is some protection from the wind. The heat from the animals will help to keep these guests warm. The innkeeper flings open the door and welcomes the couple with a broad smile. There's not much, but there is possibility. A stable. Will it suffice? And we know how the story goes. It does. And the innkeeper saves the day.
I say this nearly every Sunday. We are a congregation that gives. We give time, we give talent, we give treasure, and we share the plate on a regular basis, Sunday in and Sunday out, with organizations in the Arlington area that help others and whose values match ours. One time a year, the Share the Plate is only shared with the minister's discretionary fund. That only happens on Christmas Eve at this 4 o'clock and then at the 7 o'clock service. I had somebody ask me, well, what do you need a discretionary fund for? And I want to share a little bit with you about that fund. The minister's discretionary fund exists at the heart of our shared ministry. It is used during the year to help members of UUCA and others in our community. The discretionary fund allows our ministers to provide direct financial assistance to those in need. For example, when a family has extensive medical needs that need to be paid for, when a caregiver's paycheck is too small to buy sufficient groceries for her children, when a job is lost and someone cannot afford to pay their rent. The minister's discretionary fund is quite specifically set aside to help people with financial issues that they cannot take care of themselves. I want to add this to you all. If you are in need of pastoral care or want to speak to a minister, we have a pastoral care number. That number is 571-277-4428. It's also handily in your order of service. I say this with love and with deep sincerity. Your ministers are here to help take care of you. If you are in need, not just financially, if during this season you need to speak to someone or you need some help, please call the pastoral care line. Will the ushers please collect an offering?
In the bright sky, look down where he lay, the little Lord Jesus, asleep on the hay.
Will the ushers please bring the offering forward? As I said earlier, we are a congregation that gives. There is a level of connection between this congregation and the community that is not just astounding, it's lovely how we are able to help people because of that connection. We bless and receive these gifts, opening our hearts to true generosity. Please join me. Let us be grateful when we give, be it time, talent, or treasure. Let us be grateful for our needs and the experience of vulnerability. Let us be grateful for those who share their gifts to nurture this congregation. Got it? Thank you all.
And back with our story, I wonder, how did the shepherds feel? The Christmas story tells us that they were scared when the angels arrived. And wouldn't you be? In the Hebrew Scriptures, Ezekiel describes one kind of angel for us. Each appeared to be made like a wheel, intersecting a wheel. As they moved, they would go in any one of the four directions the creatures faced. And their whole body, their rims and their spokes, their wings and the wheels were full of eyes all around. And everyone had four faces. The first face was the face of the cherub, and the second face was a human face. The third face was the face of a lion, and the fourth the face of an eagle. Two wings were stretched out toward one and the other, and each also had two wings covering its body, and that's four wings for those of you keeping count. When the creatures moved, I heard the sound of their wings like the roar of rushing waters. And here are these guys just roving the hills with their sheep. They know sheep. And there's this amazing thing that shows up, and it's such a human moment. Here's an amazing unknown thing, and they're trying to make sense of it. So maybe they were confused too. After all, they'd never seen an angel before, never been sent on a mission like this, and they didn't really know what they would find when they arrived. And yet, they went, bringing their sheep along with them to find a newborn baby. And I wonder, as they set off on their search, how did those shepherds feel? Lynn Ungar puts these words to our wondering. It's hard not to laugh. What a picture it makes. The dumbfounded shepherds and the stricken sheep, the cacophony of bleating, and the barkings of sheepdogs, dashing and nipping in a vain attempt at order. And over it all, the angels trying to make their shimmering voices heard. A who? Wrapped in what? The shepherds hollered back. Where are we supposed to go? Poor guys. They wanted directions, a purpose, some sense of how the story might end. And all they got, all any of us ever get, was the sound of angels. Somewhere beyond the din, singing, glory, Hosanna, across the improbable night.
Blessings on blessings. I often get to say our music is amazing here, but guys, that was just lovely. Just lovely. Thank you. So let's see. We heard about the little people, little Joseph. And then we heard about the shepherds who seemed to be kind of whacked out because of what was going on with the angels. I'm really interested in the angels, though. I mean, of all the people in this puzzle, in this play, in this event that was taking place, the angels had, the sky-high view of it all. And they were the ones who got to spread the good news. I wonder how they felt, though. They had never heard of Jesus before. They didn't know what was going to happen, if he would bring peace to the world. They had no idea what this little baby was going to be able to do. So they had to have a little bit of faith, I think. They also were so excited. Now, I want you all to think about this. Close your eyes for a second. You have a character that has wings and a halo, possibly a tiny harp, flying at the speed of light, excited to spread the news that the baby is here. Now, I'm thinking whirling dervishes somehow are in the sky. Somehow, they must have been a little bit afraid, too, because they didn't know exactly what was going to happen. Amanda asked me to talk to you all about angels and hope. And what I thought about that the angels must have been most excited about was the idea that hope could be restored. Our faith, Unitarian Universalism, on the whole, wrestles with this thing we're talking about, with the Christmas story. Even though our faith tradition specifically cites Jewish and Christian teachings from sources that we draw wisdom from, and even though many UUs identify with Christianity, we seem to face a little bit of an identity crisis on Christmas Eve. I think the angels can show us a way forward. They were probably thrilled and a little bit afraid, thrilled to be proclaiming this great news that Jesus had been born. They sang and played their harps when they flew at light speed. But I imagine as they were gleefully flying, they were a little bit afraid. There was some trepidation. If I close my eyes, what I see is this white, gold, colorful mass of activity in the sky. I don't see just the one star. I'm thinking the angels are having a party up there. They were really spreading the good news. I see them singing, I see those harps playing, but I also believe there was a combination of joy and fear in their bodies. There was no certainty of what a baby would do. That excitement and that hope must have come together, and there were questions. Is this real? Will we have peace? Will it last? I hope so. I think the angels can help us display hope in action. They weren't holding all the answers, but that didn't stop them from sharing the story of the baby. What that makes me think of is that's why we're here, is to share the story. That's why we come to church and live together in community. We want to share excitement and comfort and compassion and joy, whether it's about the Christmas Eve story or it's just about the newest member of our own community. There is a piece of us that wants to be awestruck the way the angels were that night. There's a piece of us that wants to be renewed and transformed every time we are in this sanctuary. Like the angels announcing the birth of baby Jesus, we want to stay open to possibilities and hopeful for the best, and always find a way to offer the story with joy. Always with joy. At least I do. Don't you?
I invite you to rise in body or in spirit to sing Angels We Have Heard on High. You know this one, and it has all those wonderful, slightly unattainable, so sing it out, sing it out and sing it loud, just like the angels did. Angels dancing over here as they sang. I heard some angels from our choir section adding a little extra Gloria in Excelsis. Perhaps then, tonight we are the angels in the story. Or maybe we find ourselves more like the innkeeper, preparing for family that is arriving, wondering where we will put them, wondering if we can open our hearts just a little bit more to the stranger, to the neighbor that knocks on our door. Perhaps we are Joseph, waiting and waiting and waiting, and wondering if Christmas morning will ever arrive. Perhaps we are the shepherds, awestruck, looking for the end of the story, afraid, without directions, and yet going anyway, taking the next step on the journey to bring joy. This Christmas, as we imagine all the little people in the story, as we imagine all the characters who made up that story handed down, I wonder where you find yourself. Many years ago, when I was a student at Wesley Theological Seminary, which was a Methodist seminary, a Christian seminary, I often felt as though I was a welcome guest but not quite belonging. As a Unitarian Universalist, I wasn't sure how to find my place in the Christian story that my colleagues were engaging in and studying and preparing for. And that was true at Christmas as well. As Rev CTC said, we Unitarian Universalists are sometimes not sure where to find ourselves in the Christmas story. But I will never forget one chapel service in my seminary time when the worship leader imagined what it was like for Mary. Mary, who was pregnant and waiting for the baby to be born. Mary, who had been told that the baby she carried would bring peace and hope and joy to the whole world. The worship leader imagined how Mary felt, and then she said, I hope that God does it again in me. I hope that I can bring peace and hope and joy to the whole world, not the same way, but in the way that opens up this Christmas, this year, this moment for each of us. As you find your way through the story, what might you bring to the world? I invite us now into the carol Joy to the World, and you know what will come soon after that? Candles and silence. So let us not be silent, but instead rise in body or in spirit. Sing out our joy as we prepare to welcome Christmas. How does the world feel tonight as we celebrate Christmas in this sanctuary, as people around the globe celebrate it in their own ways? Can the world find a light of hope and peace again? And can we be part of bringing it? These words, an invitation to Christmas, come from Sherry Woodbury. On this eve of mystery and magic, let us enter into the Christmas story as if we were there on the holy night.
What part will we play this year?
Are you the mother, trusting your body to know what to do when the time of birth comes?
Are you the father, protecting your vulnerable family from unknown threats on a strange journey?
Are you the innkeeper who has no room, or will you take us in?
Perhaps you're the animals who hear the child's first cry, but who will sing the songs of rejoicing for the precious babe?
Who will rise up and follow the bright star of hope, even if it means a few lost sheep?
What wise ones will give away their wealth and remember what to adore?
And when the Holy Family must travel once again, who in this harsh land will shelter them?
On this silent night, let us search our hearts for our place in the Christmas story that never ends. I invite you to get your candles ready as Greg will share with us how we light and how we spread the light.
And as we move toward the end of our time together tonight, you are invited to a candle lighting. We will dim the lights, and you should have received a candle with your order of service today. And if you do not have a candle, please raise your hand or indicate, and I'm going to ask our ushers to help by bringing candles into the pew if you see those hands raised, not handles, hands.
Put them nice and high if you need one.
Yeah,
There we go.
there you go. Thank you. And we've got Sarah coming down the center here. Please remain seated while we will bring our candles to the folks at the edge of the pews. And once your candle is lit, please light the candle of the person next to you until everyone's candle is lit, just like Rev Amanda and Rev CTC are doing right now. And these candles are a little like a push pop. You can see they kind of, do y'all remember push pops? Yes, good, okay. So you can get the candle lit and then
Chalice, right?
hold it down a little bit to protect it. If you don't wish to hold a candle, just let your neighbor know with a small gesture or a quiet no thank you. And as our candles are lit and the music plays and the light grows, you might reflect silently upon the stories you've heard tonight and the community that surrounds you.
Unlit to lit.
Thank you. You got it. Thank you.
Our benediction comes from the Reverend Howard Thurman. When the song of the angels is stilled,
It's gone.
When the kings and princes are home,
when the shepherds are back with their flocks,
The work of Christmas begins.
to find the lost,
to heal the broken,
To feed the hungry,
to release the prisoner,
to rebuild the nations,
to bring peace among others.
to make music in the heart.
Friends, go in peace. Do the work of Christmas. Bring joy and love wherever you go. Find yourself in the story. Merry Christmas. And now carefully, shall we raise our candles in joy? And then blow them out as the light stays in our hearts.
Thank you.
You look so beautiful. Thank you.
Nobody
Merry
burned down.
Christmas.
That's good.
Oh, thank you, thank you.